Hi, my name is Maya Hearne, and over the summer I had the opportunity to go abroad to Southern Europe, specifically Spain and Portugal. The trip was 24 days long, and I went with other architecture and interior architecture students from KU. Um, so, just to go over a little bit of our itinerary, we flew into Barcelona, then from there flew to Porto. We took a bus to Lisbon. While in Lisbon, we did a day trip to Sintra. From Lisbon, we went to Seville. We stopped in Cordoba on the way to Granada, and on the way to Madrid, we stopped in Toledo. So, the topic that I chose to research and study while I was abroad is how has the climate and environmental factors in Spain and Portugal influenced architectural design and urban planning? Just for a little bit of context, the climate in Southern Europe has hot, dry summers and mild, rainy winters. While we were in Barcelona, it was pretty rainy and cooler weather, which isn't normally typical for the region in the summer, but it's okay. Even though it was super rainy, the city is designed with slopes in the walkways and roads, so that lead to the drains, which really helps with draining. As you can see in that first top picture, there was no water in the street, but on the right one there was some left over, but overall the system works pretty well. Outside of the city, however, at this park that we visited, that was not the case. It was pretty muddy and puddly. Thankfully, I did not wear my white pants that day. Moving on to Porto in Lisbon. If you think that the hills at KU are bad, this is not somewhere that I would recommend for you. Although it is beautiful, it is very, very hilly. But the steep terrain has had an impact on how the cities are laid out. The buildings are more stacked along the hillside, which takes advantage of the breezes that go through the streets and helps to cool the homes. The cities also use winding roads and staircases to help adapt to the landscape, and it also helps with drainage. Both Lisbon and Porto use terracotta roofing, which is known for its durability and its ability to keep buildings cool or warm by reflecting sunlight and providing insulation. In Lisbon is the Map Museum, which is located along the water. It features a curving form that blends into its natural landscape, and it also reflects water or reflects light off the water to create a cooling effect. Its roof is designed as a public space above that uses the slope of the land to offer a panoramic view of the river, but also create shaded areas below. While we were in Lisbon, we took a short bus ride to the city of Sintra. Sintra was unique because of its microclimate, which is cooler and wetter than the surrounding areas due to its elevation and proximity to the Atlantic Ocean. Sintra was probably one of my favorite places that we went just because it was so beautiful. The nature, the gardens, even the weather was honestly perfect. The architecture blends beautifully with the natural surroundings and also uses cooler breezes to help regulate indoor temperatures. On the contrary, Seville was very, very hot. We were in for a rude awakening once we arrived there. Temperatures were typically about 100 degrees every day. But they tried to make the best of it by providing coverings from the sun, as you can see from the two pictures on the left, using plants or other natural elements just to provide some shade from the sun. A couple of other ways is by having narrower paths in between buildings to A, have wind flow through them, and B, provide shade for the buildings to keep them from getting too hot. There are also bars that are typically put on windows to allow for them to be open without any safety concerns with someone breaking in. Also, there are these blinds that they use that are made out of plants, and if you water these window coverings or blinds, the wind will flow through them, and the plants will cool the wind as they're going through, which in return will cool the inside of your house, which I thought was really cool. Similarly to Seville, Granada was also very hot. So, in return, they used a lot of the same cooling tactics like the plant based window coverings and the coverings along the streets. One thing that I found out from our tour guide, which I thought was really interesting, was how some of the streets in the city have sand, which, when wet, helps cool the air as it evaporates, which was really interesting. In Granada, there was the Alhambra, which was very, very beautiful. It had water features like fountains and reflecting pools, which played a crucial role in cooling the surrounding areas, and was also a beautiful oasis. The combination of plants, water, and shaded courtyards show how Granada adapts to the local environment. Overall, the trip was an amazing experience and I had so much fun. Even though the weather wasn't perfect, we got to experience the best of both worlds with the cool weather and the warm weather, which was awesome.